This video is all about hybrid picking. This is a technique that I use quite a lot. I'm going to talk about what it is and why you might want to get a bit of hybrid picking into your own playing. And I'm going to do this through a series of nice musical examples, and I hope these examples are going to demonstrate some different approaches to hybrid picking, some different sounds and styles that you can get out of this technique. And I hope it's going to give you some ideas that you can then take and integrate into your own playing. And basically hybrid picking is simply using a pick and one or more fingers of your picking hand at the same time, and it's going to give you some options and some sounds that wouldn't be available were you just using a pick alone. And I don't think of this technique as being particularly style specific. I mean, yes, you may think of chicken picking country or perhaps kind of shred rock virtuoso stuff when you think about hybrid picking, but I use this in a whole wide range of different styles. And it can be a rhythm guitar thing, and it can be a lead guitar thing, or a bit of a combination of both of those things. So it's all stuff I'm going to try and demonstrate in these musical examples. And this first one serves as a nice musical exercise, a way of starting to get your pick and fingers working together. So it's based on a very simple pattern. Let's do this to begin with, just using a simple open position C major chord. And the pattern that I'm using with my picking hand is this. So alternating between picked notes and then notes played with the fingers. So I'm starting off with the pick on the 5th string, and then I'm playing the open 3rd string with my middle finger, and then I'm using my pick to play the 4th string, and then my ring finger to play the 2nd string. So it's pick, middle, pick, ring. That's the pattern that you want to get rolling around. Very similar to a fingerstyle approach. You could play exactly that same pattern without using the pick at all, just play it fingerstyle. And the advantage of using hybrid picking, it does give you a slightly different feeling and a slightly different tone. And a big benefit is that you can quickly switch between playing just pick notes and strumming and then going into something, with a more of a fingerstyle kind of a sound like this example. And as far as the position of my picking hand goes, it's really no different from when I'm just using a pick on its own. I'm not changing the angle of my forearm or wrist or anything like that. I'm just addressing the strings as I normally would, and my fingers are already close to where they need to be on the strings. Another question that sometimes comes up with hybrid picking is, do you need to have a nail on your picking hand? And the answer is no, you don't. You can play this style with nail or without a nail, just using the flesh of your fingertips if you like. It will just give you a slightly different tone. Personally, I have got a little bit of a nail on my picking hand, and that just adds a little bit of brightness and attack to the notes that I play with my fingers. So that's our pattern, and you might just want to work on that. Just go round and round that pattern mindlessly until it gets into the muscle memory, and then you can apply it to other chords, and you can use it in different areas of the fretboard. And in my example, I was just using this series of chords. So some nice sounding chords, and really it's going from a D to an E minor, a G and a C, all with 5th string root. But what I'm doing is I'm leaving the open 3rd string ringing, so that gives you interesting kind of suspensions and extensions. So this one's obviously got a classic country sound, and one of the ways that I like to use hybrid picking is when you're dealing with double stops, and it works particularly well when you're dealing with these 6th shapes where you've got a string skip involved. I mean, yes, you could play most of this stuff just using the pick on its own, but it's a lot easier technically to play this stuff if you're using a bit of hybrid picking. So the idea is this: I'm starting with this little 6th shape here, so 4th fret on the G, 3rd fret on the high E, and I'm going up to this shape here, 5th fret on the G and high E, and then 6th fret and 7th fret with the same shape. And I'm using my pick to play all of the notes on the 3rd string, and I'm using the middle finger of my picking hand to play all of the notes on the high E string. So I'm starting off just going from the 3rd string to the 1st string and then back again, and then I'm playing both strings at the same time. Just leading into that with a little slide as well, and that fits the sound of a G chord. Then I'm taking the same idea over onto the next pair of strings, so 2 on the D and 1 on the B. That fits a C chord, and then to fit a D chord, the same idea, up 2 frets. And then I'm wrapping up with our initial idea, but starting from the highest shape and working down. And that's a super useful, very common country cliche, but it's an idea that you can use in other styles as well. You could use that in a blues or in more of a soul R&B style. This one is another rhythm guitar example, and I'm just playing 4-note chords but using hybrid picking, and what that does is it enables you to play all of the notes at exactly the same time. Yes, you could strum these chords, but it gives you a different tone if you're using this hybrid picking. It gives you more of a piano type sound, so you're striking all of the notes simultaneously. And you can do this with any 4-note chord. Because it's a 4-note chord, I'm going to have to bring in an extra finger in my picking hand as well. So I'm actually starting with a major 7th chord. This is an A major 7, so fret 7, 9, 9 and 9. I'm using my pick on the 4th string, and then I'm using middle finger, ring finger and my pinky as well to get all of those notes at the same time. And then in my example I'm just going through some inversions of those shapes. And then I'm switching to a G or a G major 7. And then back to A again. As I say, you could use that technique with any chords you like, but I was just trying to find some nice, pretty sounding voicings. And this is more of a rockabilly, rock and roll style example. It works really well with hybrid picking, and the big advantage here is I'm able to do this rockabilly rhythm stuff and then go into some straight soloing just using the flat pick. So here I'm just setting up a typical rockabilly rhythm pattern, just using an A7 chord, and my pick is keeping the bass going. It's an alternating bass, so just going between the 6th string and the 4th string. Then I'm bringing in my fingers. That will be a pattern to get started on, I think. So I'm playing the pick and ring finger together on beat 2, and then I've got that offbeat note played with my middle finger on the 3rd string. lots of variations on that basic pattern. You can add in your pinky there to get that high G note, and then you can take that round some other chords. So I was just going down to an E chord. So it's beyond the scope of this video to go into too much depth on this particular example, but I have done an entire video devoted to this style of rockabilly rhythm playing. So if you want to learn more about this style, then do check out that video. This one is more of a bluesy kind of lick, so key of B, thinking about the B minor pentatonic scale, and I've got this droning note on the high E string, 7th fret, and I'm keeping that going while I'm playing some bluesy pentatonic licks underneath it. So I'm starting off with this. So the pentatonic melody I'm playing is this. Just a minor to major third hammer on at the end. I'm playing all of that with the pick, and then with my middle finger I'm just keeping that high B note going at the same time. And I'm just playing some chords in the gaps, B7, and then so the melody. Again, I'm playing that with the high B drone. And you can just finish off with a little single note pentatonic line. Another big advantage of hybrid picking is I can go between the hybrid pick stuff and then just playing stuff as I normally would with the pick, just straight flat picked stuff. And this one is a nice arpeggiated triad example. It would work really well in a kind of indie rock context, I think. And I'm just holding down a simple triad shape. So in this case it's an A minor triad. Just got 7 on the A, 7 on the D, and 5 on the G. And I'm setting up this kind of pattern. So my pick is playing the notes on the 5th string, my middle finger is playing on the 4th string, and my ring finger is playing on the 3rd string, and I've got, just in terms of string numbers, it's 5, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 3 is the pattern. And then I'm just repeating it. Taking it through some other shapes. So this is not exactly a triad, it's kind of an F major sound, but we've got F, A, and then another F on top. There's a C triad, and then we have a G shape. That's the same as the F, but just moves 2 frets higher, and that's the pattern. And this is another country sounding lick. If you've seen any of my country videos before, you've probably already heard this lick because it's one I'm probably guilty of overusing. And the basic idea is I'm playing thirds on the B and G strings, double stops, and then I'm playing some bass notes and some muted notes on the 5th string, and this kind of lick is definitely facilitated by using hybrid picking because we've got that big string skip involved. In fact, there's probably not really a way you can play this exact lick without using hybrid picking. So I'm starting like this, so just walking up to the 11th fret on the 5th string, using the pick for that, and I've got the first little double stop shape, so it's fret 9 on the B and G. And I'm really just taking that whole shape down 2 frets. I'm coming down to this shape, so 7 on the A, 6 and 5 on the G and B, and then taking that little double stop third down. So just the thirds bit of the lick is, but I'm adding in these bass notes, which gives it a bit more of a country chicken picking kind of flavour, and particularly with the country stuff, if you actually pull on the strings a little bit that you're playing with the fingers on this hand, you get more of that snap, more of that chicken picking sound. So you don't want to be polite with this stuff, you really want really get underneath the strings and pull them, and you get that nice chicken picking kind of snap. And then I'm coming down to the open position with a kind of country bending lick. So I've got this D note here at the 3rd fret on the 2nd string, holding that down, and I'm bending at the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, which is giving me an E7 kind of a sound. This one's a little bit outside of my comfort zone. It's more of a shredding rock type lick. It's a scale sequence, so based on the A Dorian mode, 3 note per string. And I'm setting up a scale sequence using some hybrid picking, which is another place where hybrid picking works really well. We've got some string skips here, so we've got picking the first note, a couple of hammer-ons, and then skipping over onto the 4th string, playing that note with my middle finger. And then I'm onto the 5th string with some more slurred notes. I'm really just taking that basic pattern across the scale in this sequence kind of a way. So this is another country idea, and hybrid picking works really well when you're string bending at the same time. So you've got this classic pedal steel style country lick. I'm bending this B note here, 12th fret on the 2nd string. At the same time I'm holding down this high E note. And you can play those notes at the same time, so pick and middle finger. Or you can go between the 2 notes. I'm doing a similar thing down here, so now I've got an A on top and I'm bending this E up to an F sharp. And ending with some country 6. This is another rhythm guitar idea, maybe an indie style riff, this one. And I'm using double stops once again, but I'm using tenths this time, which is a sound that I like to use a lot. You'll know the sound of tenths from tunes like Blackbird. That's all tenths. So these notes are 10 letters apart in the musical alphabet, basically. And I'm starting with this shape. So 10 on the A and 12 on the B. And then I'm just moving that shape around essentially. Sometimes I'm just squeezing up the fingers so they're just 1 fret apart. basic idea. And you've got a double string skip here, but it's easy to play with hybrid picking. So just picking the A string with the pick and using my middle finger or my ring finger for the higher note. It's a nice atmospheric sound. You're adding some effect. I've got some delay and some vibrato here, some reverb, and it really comes to life nicely. I'm going to leave it there for today's video. I really hope that you've enjoyed it. Of course, I'm going to meticulously tab out all of today's examples. Those are going to be available up on the Patreon page. Check that out should you be interested. And I'll see you next time.